Good morning and welcome to the Intel Extreme Masters Toronto. How you guys doing? Sweet. It's a lot of energy for this time of the morning. You guys excited? You're checking out the last couple days. This is day 3 now. We got through the open bracket. We got through about half the group stages. We're going to continue the group stages today and get to our finalists for tomorrow. How pumped are you guys? You know, if you get more pumped, we might have free stuff to give away. So how pumped are you guys? Sweet, I like it. All right, well, before we bring our first players out, I want to introduce you to Paul and company on the expert desk. He's a pretty cool guy.
Now we have a desk.
Well, we have a desk and we have Janet Kale, so that's all good. Don't walk through the shot. What an idiot. What an idiot. Okay, well, we are back, and, you know, well, it's... I'm sorry, what? You're on camera right now. So if you could move out of the shot, that would be great.
Sorry, what?
If you could move out of the shot, that would be great.
What did you call me?
If you could move out of the shot, that would be great.
What did you call me?
What are you doing? Wow. What? Like, I asked you not to go backstage, you ignored me, and now you're in the middle of the shot. Wow, what the hell? Okay, let's just calm it down. Okay, I think we can carry on. Sorry about that, I hope. Things got a bit feisty. I think things are a bit loud here, so, you know, it's busy and what have you. Welcome to day 3.
Yep.
How you doing?
First match of the day is going to be Bunny versus Zest, and Bunny is the second to last foreigner left in this tournament.
Yep. And we're lucky to have 2.
Yeah, Snoot, of course, already made it through, and Bunny... It's interesting that the 2 foreigners that are still alive both came through the open bracket. And they've had a long road. Bunny, let's see, has he played? He played 1 Protoss so far, so he 2-0'd Oz in the open bracket, but besides that, he hasn't really seen a lot of Protoss in this tournament.
No, absolutely. And yesterday's games, highlights for you?
Snoot, just everything screams Snoot on what he's done so far. He's playing absolutely incredible, and I really, really hope he can continue that today.
Absolutely.
And of course the Flash games.
Of course, I mean, how can you forget those?
Yeah.
I mean, I was also going to point out yesterday, Tasia had a great comeback game as well. So there's been some real good highlights. We're looking forward to some more today. We also have 4 games for you today that were left over from yesterday's group stage. So let's take a look at those right now. We're going to go through all 4 of those matches. We're also going to try and do as many of the quarterfinals as we can as well. There are 3 of those to do at least today, and hopefully we might be able to squeeze in the 4th one as well. Yesterday, you can see Group A all the way through. Tasia winning that one. Bunny versus Zest is the last game of that group, which is the first game of today. So let's preview that one right now. Bunny and Zest.
Yes, so...
going to be hard, I think.
One thing that Bunny has going for him, at least, is I know he's already studied a lot of Zest games. When we were at the PC Bong a couple days ago, just after Detroit, we were watching a lot of GSL, a lot of Pro League VODs, and for one reason or another, coincidentally, we were watching a lot of Zest games against Terran, especially his recent match against Cure in the GSL. And so I think Bunny, at the very least, he's got a lot of information about his opponent, and especially he's already got the match against Tasia from yesterday as well.
Yeah. He's got a lot of tricks too. He's actually got a lot of tricks.
I was going to ask you, I mean, we know how good Zest is, but he hasn't quite shone as maybe as brightly as we thought he might here. Tough group for him, though, with all those Terrans.
Yeah, tough group, but the thing is with Zest, he's world class.
Yeah.
He's a top 3 Protoss in the world, and, you know, he's pushing for #1 in the world.
How much do you think yesterday's result for Snoot against Hero, beating him twice, obviously not just yesterday, but the day before as well, how much can Snoot kind of help Bunny in a way, just get over that mental block of, you know, they are a top player, they're in the GSL, they're fantastic, it's worldwide reputation, double IEM champion yesterday, he beat him. He surely he can help his teammate out here a little bit with the whole mentality around Zest.
I almost think that he's helping out without even saying a word, just through inspiration on what he's done. It's not impossible to beat these type of players, and if Snoot can do it, then obviously Bunny's going to be feeling that as well.
Okay. Yeah. All right, well, without further ado, let's get our players on the stage with Mr. Jarrett Kale.
Thank you, Paul. Are you guys pumped? Fighting pumped. All right, we're gonna bring our players on stage. First, from Team Liquid, a Terran player, been tearing up the tournament. I'm even afraid of him, I'm not even in it. Please welcome Bunny. And his opponent, from Korea and possibly the best Protoss in the world, Zest.
Okay, here we go then. Game number 1 of day 3 here at the Intel Extreme Masters in Toronto. And we are moments away from the map vetoes right now. How important are these maps for Bunny in particular?
I think the pool right now is a lot more, maybe not favorable for Terran, but it's not, we're not seeing some of the maps like Heavy Rain and Daedalus Point where 6-gate Blink was kind of like the build that you were facing all the time. And on those maps, you kind of knew it was coming, but you still had a lot of trouble defending it. Yeah. There's not a lot of big new tricks that Protoss has on these new maps. It's more going to be what type of play and what type of game does Bunny want to play out. It's not so much avoiding certain cheeses or certain openings, but it's like, do you want to play on Nimbus, where your opponent is able to go up to 3 bases with relative ease, but then you have opportunities for big drops into the natural because of the ease of getting into there, or do you want to go for a map like Deadwing, where you're actually going to be playing more of a late game style because the 4 bases are so accessible?
Yeah, well, the map vetoes are incoming momentarily.
Yeah.
What does Zest go for, do you think?
I expect that he'll veto Catalina.
Yeah.
Besides,
maybe go round 2?
Merry-Go-Round seems like a pretty good guess.
We're expecting Overgrowth to be played again.
I think Foxtrot is kind of the wild card in this pool.
We've seen quite a lot of it, actually.
Yeah, and Foxtrot is one of those maps that I think it's more up to the player to decide whether or not they feel comfortable on it. It's just so weird, especially because it's got 2 unique set of spawns. And here we do see Catalina, the first veto from Zest, and Bunny is taking out Foxtrot. So obviously does not feel particularly comfortable on that map. And Zest is not going for Nimbus, so he's worried about probably that drop play.
But look at the 3 maps we're going to play. They're all small. They're all very tight, close maps here. This is going to be very aggressive, and the type of play that is very popular right now, especially in the European scene, which Bunny's obviously from, SCV pulls.
Yeah. I was going to say, actually, he's going to be very happy with this, isn't he?
Yeah, I think both players are pretty comfortable with the maps that are remaining. Do know that Zest seems to favor Sejong, favors that blink play on that map, a lot of ways to get into the main. But at the same time, like you said, it's relatively small, and it does not tailor itself particularly well to an endgame scenario, and that's pretty much what all Terrans are avoiding right now in this matchup.
Okay, prediction time.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, tough one, isn't it? I mean, every match today is going to be tough to call because every single game has a lot on the line, and they're great players. There are no poor players left in this tournament. There weren't many poor players in the start, was there? I mean, it was just ridiculously stacked, as we said on day 1. So, Bunny or Zest?
I have to go with Zest. I mean, it's so difficult to not. I have to go with Zest, but if Bunny wins, I'm going to be overly joyed. It's absolutely ecstatic.
Okay, so it's heart and head for you.
Bunny 2-1.
Ooh! You did it.
What did I do?
Pick Bunny.
Yeah. What? That doesn't say that much.
He's a Terran.
Yeah.
I'm just going to point that out.
You think he's going to win? Actually think he's going to win, or are you just saying it?
In my heart of hearts.
Oh, so that's what I was saying. Heart and
there
head.
we
So
go.
heart for Apollo.
No, both ways.
Is Bunny.
Both ways. I'm feeling for Bunny. Yeah.
All right, okay.
I think Bunny has a real advantage here. He's very underestimated by most of his opponents. Most people don't know who he is. There are a decent amount of his games online, but they're in foreign tournaments that have not been of the same level of...
But come on, do you not think overnight Zest has gone back to the hotel and he's downloaded those
but
replays?
You know, there's only so much time you can spend.
Okay.
Bunny's been watching Zest games for at least a week.
Okay.
You know, he's got a lot of time to ponder over exactly what he wants to do. And there's a difference between several days of resting and predicting and kind of just letting it mull in your head besides, you know, I'm going to go back to my hotel room now. I'm going to spend an hour finding every single game this guy has played in the last 2 months. Then I'm going to watch all of them in a row, and then I'm going to go to sleep. Right? Like, there's just not as much time to get that same kind of analysis going on.
I think one last thing I would like to say is I think a big enemy of Bunny here is going to be himself. He mustn't make mistakes. He has to just play his regular game because I think Zest is going to be a player who doesn't really make mistakes. And he's going to play his A game. So Bunny's enemy is almost himself.
Okay. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, on the analysis couch. Let's head over to the commentary desk now for our opening game and find out whether the European hopes can stay alive.
Thanks, Paul. We're here at the commentary desk. I'm Nathanius. With me is Todd, and I think there's a lot of course, hope for Bunny moving forward. Zest was one of my favorite picks going into this tournament, though.
Yeah, you know, I'm still a little bit bothered by what QXC just said about the maps. You know, Nimbus, he was saying you can take a third base, but then you're exposed to drops. Let me tell you, QXC, Nimbus, very, very high up there on the maps that you veto as Protoss. And it's no different for Zest, who vetoed it ASAP. It was Catalina and then Nimbus in that order for his 2 vetoes. He's been vetoing it before. Interestingly enough, he's always been going for the same 2 vetoes. So he's played 2 Terrans so far in his group that were Teja and Pult. And since he always vetoed this map, he always had to play merry-go-rounds. Now in this series, it's going to be map number 2. So we're going to have a lot of info and later on some build orders that we're going to be able to talk about. But the first map here, King Sejong Station, he played that map as a first map versus Teja, which he won. It was, I don't know, a very specific game which Bunny got to study now. So I'm going to cover that a little bit early in that first game later on. What's your impressions and what do you think we might see here? Did you notice any weakness in Zest's play earlier?
I really don't think the opener that he pulled out on this map, I believe it was of some blink variety against Tasia on this map. Didn't really get him a lot, and I like Tasia's position, but Zest is a kind of guy where unless he makes a huge mistake to some sort of counterplay, he can come back from these behind positions. So I think he could go with the same style. Bunny, I believe, will pull out a different set of build loaders than we saw Tasia bring out, though.
All right.
I like factory play from Bunny a lot, actually.
Really? Okay.
That's what I'm expecting to see, Todd, as we move in. We are loaded in, of course, the first game of the 3rd day here at the Intel Extreme Masters Toronto. Thank you all for coming out once again. You're an awesome crowd, and our first player spawning in the southeast position of King Sejong Station. He's from Korea. He represents KT Rolster. He is Zest. And his opponent, one of the last couple non-Korean players left in this tournament, in the top left position, representing Team Liquid and Denmark, he is Bunny.
I think Zest, no matter what the matchup, well, against Zerg, obviously, it's good to get Blink, but especially against Protoss and Terran on this map, every single game, it's Blink. It's going to be a Twilight somewhere in there, a few gateways added on, and some Blink play. Sometimes he commits, sometimes he just gets a bunch of Stalkers, and usually what he likes to do is to go into Colossus after going to Blink Stalkers and getting a quick third, and just play defensive up until he has enough, he feels confident enough to attack. If you don't wreck him early enough, if you don't do any damage, if you let this guy just sit back, it's gonna be very hard to beat him, but somehow Paul did it in the map that he won against him on Overgrowth, which I guess was a little bit different in terms of map overlay and all that, and possibilities to attack. So we'll see how Bunny chooses to go about playing against a Zest who, I guess you could say, kind of predictable.
Yeah. Well, the question that I would ask you at this point is, with the way that the Terran vs. Protoss metagame has been playing out, we see most Protoss either open up with a Stargate or maybe a little bit of Blink action and then go straight for Colossi. Not necessarily because everybody likes to go that, but you can't really do too many other things. You can't be too fancy in this matchup. Yeah, well, that's what I want to ask you. If Zest was going to really mix it up, could he? On this map, is there any option to do something crazy?
No, I don't think Zest is the guy to open Blink and then go into Storm. If he was to open for Blink and then finally mix it up, I think it'd be something with like a transition into Templars rather than Colossus. Now, Bunny, he's a guy that can pull SCVs and will pull SCVs if he thinks he has to. Did it against me in WCS. Didn't go so well because he didn't scout my transition Templars, but Zest is really that guy who I think will go Blink into Colossus a lot of the time. So I think if Bunny goes for it, there is a good chance it could work. But again, Zest has probably been practicing a ton against it, and will have some tricks up his sleeve to try and counter the boys being pulled.
Yeah, I mean, for a Terran player, your biggest goal is always to land as many blows as you can to the Protoss player before you reach that stage. This SCV not able to block the Nexus. But, you know, I was mentioning factory play before we jumped into this game. Bunny has mined a lot of gas. I'd be really surprised if he did anything other than start a factory as soon as he has the resources for it.
Could have been an eBay for +1, but no, it's going to be a factory this time.
The thing is that engineering bay build, usually you only need 2 SCVs on your gas, like once you start your Reaper to effectively get it. So I think this is going to be a fast mine drop play. We've seen some players go Hellions, but on this map, there's not a lot of space to dance around with them. And
on this map, it feels easier than other maps to drop, just because the watchtowers don't really allow for much vision to see that. Nobody even really claims them. Like, you know, they're quite far away.
I mean, having it early in the game doesn't give you an edge, right?
Yeah. So here, it feels easier to drop than if you can come in from an angle where the Protoss player or your opponent in general is just not ready. You can do a lot of damage. And that's probably what Bunny is going to want to look for.
I like the Reaper tucked in behind the natural as the Mothership Core is patrolling in an area where, it's simply not going to see it. The Stalker is also patrolling, but by itself, the Reaper could jump back in.
He's going to get some probes. No, he's going to choose to go for the Scout instead, and I think he should be able to see that
He sees the Robo. He sees it.
Yeah.
Very important pickup, of course. Now the Reaper's kind of locked in. The building placement makes it very difficult to escape. So the Reaper dies, but at the very least, he knows what he's up against.
Yeah.
And as you know, while I might say, yes, an observer would reveal this Widow Mine that's being built, as a Protoss player, Todd, you know that doesn't make holding it any easier.
Yeah, it's always very difficult against those early on rushers. You need to make sure you get the correct amount of Stalkers, which usually is 3 to 4, but right now, Zest, he made only 1, and then he's going to a sentry, so if he somehow underestimates this, you see he's getting a second gateway, so this is definitely going to help, but I don't know that it will be up on time because the Medivac is already on the way.
Yeah, I actually noticed that Zest was building a second Stalker earlier.
Yeah.
I think he canceled it once the Reaper ran in because
Zest not going for a blink, by the way, on this map. This is a first.
Yeah.
Usually always
I think he's up to a pretty fast 4 gas too.
I think he's maybe going to be a Robo Bay very quick. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How many sentries does he want to go up to this? Usually we see Protoss players get 2, but right now he still just has 1.
It depends on his gas. I mean, he needs to save some for the Colossus, but if he has a lot of extra gas, he can go up to like 3. But right now, I think he's going to see that Medivac in the middle of the map, and he's going to know what's up. Needs to make sure he gets enough. It's only 2 Marines and 1 Widow Mine, by the way.
Yeah, I mean,
leaving a lot of units back at home. Because he saw a Robo, he's probably like, whoa, what's going on? He's not opening Blink. Could there be a Stargate hidden on the map?
Yeah, I'm not sure that he has. I mean, because he doesn't have that. We know that he doesn't have to worry about that. But I think the robotics facility timing with these 4 gas, I would be surprised to see a Stargate either way. Oh, this Widow Mine. Is he gonna get anything? Burrows in. Okay. Wow, actually, it's 3 probes there. Not bad at all.
Why does the Mothership Core have solo energy? What did we miss here? He made it quickly, right?
No, I think it was.
He wasted time warp somewhere? What the hell?
I actually didn't quite.
Yeah.
He recalled to his natural.
Wow.
I guess that bad boy moves pretty slow, huh?
Okay, so standard transition behind is Forge plus Twilight for Zest. I expect a quick third here. I wouldn't be surprised. He does that a lot. Just as soon as he starts going to Blink and Colossus.
I think the Twilight Council says that too. Even with a fast Colossus opening, while sometimes players like MC will use it for very big 2-base committed pushes, you want to have it fast because this map has a lot of wide open area once you move down the natural ramp, and you need as many Colossus as you can, or you can't take your 3rd base.
One single Widow Mine is on its way to possibly being dropped. And you know, what happens often here as a Protoss is that you have your observers down on the map to see stuff coming your way, but you don't keep any back at home. And if you don't have cannons and that Widow Mine somehow burrows, and yeah, that observer, by the way, I think missed that, you can take a lot of damage or even lose or waste a lot of mining time back at home. So
he could kill a lot of probes with this. And what's also important to know is that Zest saw the 3rd command center on the way. So he should have an idea that taking a 3rd isn't too crazy. Maybe when he gets a 2nd Colossus out or gets closer to having range finish, but he's still adding on gateways.
By the way, Bunny's super Marine heavy back at home. He's made almost no Marauders, and let's see how much this can kill, if it kills anything.
Doesn't look like it's going to get much.
Oh!
He went into the endless abyss known as the Assimilator.
He went for the gamble, tried to get more than 1 probe here instead of going for the safe bet, so Bunny not going to kill anything with that one. But he's now moving across the map. And he's very fortunate because for Zest that he went for Colossus. If he had gone for Charge Load Templar, he wouldn't have Storm yet. And with that many Marines, you can do a lot of damage to a Protoss player. So now, having that going for him, Zest should be able to defend comfortably as long as he doesn't get dropped while being completely out of position. He went up to a lot of gateways.
It's just 6.
But I mean,
he could still take a 3rd with this. No?
For Zest, that's a lot. Usually he goes up to like 4, starts a 3rd base, and then adds more. That 3rd base was really, really delayed. Like for Zest, and 11 minutes is actually like super late. He loves to take that very, very quick 3rd base, but somehow in this game,
do you think that's
he wanted to play it safer.
Yeah. Do you think he's just showing a lot to respect to Bunny, even though he doesn't have a lot of experience versus him?
Possibly. And you see, okay, he starts Templar Archive in charge as well, so it's going to be a fairly quick transition. I guess since he has 1 Forge, he's going to have a bunch of extra gas, and he's probably going to cut Stalkers already at just 6. He's done that before.
So Todd, these observers for Zest have been pretty well placed. I think Bunny hasn't actually killed any of them. Do you think this has made it a little bit easier for him to do some of the things he's done, like go for these Templars? Is he not concerned about a big push yet, or?
Not yet. It wouldn't come at this time if the push was gonna come, which it might. I think in this situation, you're almost always gonna be able to get Storm on time if you're gonna get attacked. And Bunny, I don't know why he's playing so passively, by the way. He's just sitting back at home.
Yeah, that's what I thought was interesting, because I mean there's still a lot of observers, so if he moves out,
maybe both players are giving each other like a lot of respect.
It's like, well, you know, I think this guy actually could beat me, is what Zest might be thinking, and the Bunny's like, I really need to beat this guy, so I don't want to attack him too early.
What if he beats me? What if he's the one that beats me?
Yeah.
And now lots of gateways being made here for Zest. He's gonna do a complete transition into Charge Loss and Templars.
Do you think he strikes when +2 armor finishes and all these gateways are done?
He's not supposed to be the one to attack. Like, if the only moment you're gonna attack in this situation is when you have like 7 Templars with lots of energy. Like, I would say like 10 Storms, because like if you attack with less than that, look, this is the moment in the game where the Terran has about, okay, he has 90 army supply against 56. So you don't want to be attacking now, even though he's going to have Storm. You still need to play defensively.
There's still no Ghost Academy, by the way, so he's really relying on his army control.
Bunny's playing blind. He hasn't dropped, he has no info. Now he's going to start seeing the Templars very soon. He's going to be like, oh my god, I'm making so many Vikings for just 3 Colossi. And there are actually a lot of Templars. I'm in trouble.
Yeah, now the Templar aren't spread a lot, so if he walks into the first one, he shouldn't get flanked trying to retreat, but finally kills the observer hovering over his army. Yeah. So Zest has to be a little bit careful.
This game is similar to Zest versus Pult on Overgrowth, where Zest played exactly like this, just 6 Stalkers, 3 Colossus, teched into Templar, and maxed out on Colossus Storm, but he lost that game to good Ghost control and many Ghosts. The thing is, in this game we don't have any, but we have a huge supply lead for Bunny. The best way he could use that is with a big drop in the main, like 4 Medivacs, and an attack on the 3rd base at the same time, I think. If he attacks with everything here, I don't know.
And he really wants to separate these forces. Time some Mothership Core, not bad.
No time warp, no overcharge.
Oh, steps forward, he takes a hit on a Colossus, but 1 Storm does take away nice little chunk of health from a lot of these Vikings, using 25% of their hit points.
Ghost Academy being on the way now. I wonder if Bunny tries to commit to a fight before. You see he's getting closer and closer to maxing out against the Zest, who's still very far behind on supply, but having Storm changes everything here. Now double Forge up for Zest. He's going to try and catch up in terms of upgrades.
He's building Immortals too.
Yeah. Immortals are good with that composition.
Yeah, I feel like Immortals get underrated a lot in these scenarios when you have a lot of charge lots, and when most Terran players, like Pult especially is a good example, likes to pull a couple Marauders forward, try to snipe a high Templar, but the Immortals really make that impossible to do, I feel.
I think Zest knows that trying to make Colossus against somebody who has that many Vikings and he's still making more is kind of useless, so he's getting the Immortals on the ground really going to help his composition rather than just getting more and more Zealots.
Yeah,
let's see.
It's really tricky because now the Ghosts are coming out, and those are going to be very effective versus the Zealots. The EMPs will render the Archons and Immortal Shields a little bit worse. But I feel like these types of engagements comes down to Zest just, like you said, not being the aggressor and spacing out his high Templar. That's a favorite thing I like to see from players like him. When the Terran player goes up, tries to poke, and then the Storm just comes out of nowhere from the right side, and suddenly Terran loses half their hit points before they have to be forced to take an engagement.
It's funny how neither of them, by the way, took that 4th base, you know, in the corner towards the Watchtower. And I think Bunny is finally gearing up for that big attack. It's only 2 Ghosts, 3 now. He has a lot of Vikings. So he's going to try to chip away at some of those units before the engagement. He has a lot of Templars. Actually, how many? It's like 6 Templars with its army. If all of them get EMP and don't storm, they're going to be...
nice.
He's going to be in a lot of trouble.
I mean, that Templar had enough energy to take the EMP and still be able to storm, so I think Bunny really needs to be a bit more careful. There's no Templar set up to flank on the high ground to the left of him, so...
Personal clocking is on the way, by the way. It's going to finish in not too long, like 15 seconds.
A lot of Protoss in this tournament have been building cannons at their 4th base, their outreaching bases, and I do really like this because it makes it so much harder to get in, and there's a nice EMP. The Ghosts eat some storm.
4 Templars with some energy.
There are 5 Ghosts total, still at least 3 EMPs with this army, which could be game-changing. Stalkers blink forward, take a shot on some of these medevacs. The Templar are not quite up front. First Storm whiffs.
You don't really want to engage here. You want to engage and pull back and then storm the army that's chasing you, kind of like Hearthstone did very successfully versus Terrans before.
Like 5 or 6 Storms left over here. The Vikings taking a huge amount of damage. There's only 1 Colossus left, but as his army pulls back, he's still not actually hit the main Marine Marauder force with any Storms. One of these medevacs accidentally loaded up completely.
No Ghost left. There's no ghost. Everything's gonna get stormed if Bunny fights here. He needs to pull back, but he chooses to fight. He thinks he's gonna get chased down and he's in trouble.
Yeah, he's leaking a lot of heat from this force. I like the spread on his army, though. He's taking out a lot of these expensive units. If he can get these immortals, big pickups.
Oh, the pylon forces. The pylon was too far, so he's reinforcing very slowly. Look at the minerals, actually. He doesn't have enough gateways.
Bunny with this +3 attack, he's making this work incredibly well. Those Zealot weapons are not as effective when the Terran player is on even or better upgrades. And now he's chewed through some of the photon cannons. Yes, the 4th base is alive for Zest, but look at the value of the units that he has left. These are not the big daddy Protoss units that are going to inspire fear in the hearts of Terrans.
Zest forgot to morph his new gateways for the longest time. You see, now it's done. Now in his main he has a lot of gateways that he made into warp gate, but during that fight it wasn't done, so he went up to like 1,500 mirrors. You never want that to happen. He was supposed to win that one quite clearly. Whoa, actually a ghost just ran by itself towards those units and
He was
died.
a brave man.
That observer, by the way, in the middle of the map by Zest, beautiful positioning. Earlier was just right above that thing over there.
He was able to keep track of all the army movements of Bunny. There's
so nice.
one more observer to watch this force, of course. He does have personal cloaking, like you mentioned earlier. There's still one cannon, however.
It's nuke time.
Oh, Dark Templar being mixed into this, too. One being sent towards that 4th.
At this point in the game, you're supposed to have turrets and defense everywhere.
Yeah, DT sitting the planetary fortress at the 4th base, though. Does use a scan. There's one position on the left side of the map to try to maybe get through the rocks later on and attack the natural.
If Zest gets this base nuked, he's gonna be in trouble. This might force a bad fight, but hold on, Bunny gets in there too early, maybe.
Yeah, Bunny's army feels a little small. I'm not sure how much he wants to take against
he
this.
has more, and the thing is, defender's advantage is really gonna help Zest.
He can see these cloaked ghosts, by the way, too, since that observer's on top of the army. Bunny taking some significant losses, losing a large number of his medevacs, only 2 remaining on the map. He does have a lot of bio coming from the side, snipes the Colossus. There's only 1 left. Where are the rest of Bunny's forces at the planetary?
Bunny had a lot of ghosts, but no Vikings here. So even though there was 1 Colossus and then another one that rejoined later on, just the positioning was good enough for Zest to defend this. Bunny may be losing patience here a little bit in the long game against a formidable opponent like Zest.
Now the Dark Templar shows up right as the Mulehammer rains, and Bunny still has a couple of skins left. I will say Bunny did a great job of quickly getting up additional command centers by his 3rd base, that he could continue to use scans and mules all throughout the game.
Those DTs, man, they want in. Knock.
On the natural expansion. Bunny has a turret, but if he doesn't realize this, he could lose quite a bit. Look, he's very aware, very aware.
There's too much, though.
There's Zealots here, too. That complicates things a little bit.
Needs to bring back some more
Zealots.
units.
These SCVs are actually dying very quickly.
You know, Bunny just threw away his entire ghost count. He's down to 0 ghosts, so
he's hitting that center base at the same time. With only 1 Colossus and no Immortals, though, I think the planetary fortress is a bit difficult to break at the moment.
Where's that nuke, man? I want to see that nuke.
You might have to use it defensively at this point, or send out the secret agent man.
Are you kidding me? Defensive nuke?
It's a thing.
I think the observer in the middle of the map, was it finally killed? He's down to 2 observers, 1 with his army for Zest, and 1 that he just remade to rejoin his army as well. So he wants to make sure he doesn't somehow die to personal cloaking and ghost, but man, those Zealots, they mean business.
That's a lot of Zealots for Zest on the left side. This choke is actually not terrible, but he needs to pull a significant amount of his army over here to defend this. But at the right side, without any Zealots on this army, he's really relying on those storms, because if the Marine Marauder gets on top of that many Stalkers and Colossi, he will destroy them now. Bunny, he's got a lot of Zealots in his production.
And Bunny falling apart slowly here to a Zest, who's throwing away some Zealots that he doesn't really need. He keeps on moving out on the map, attacking somewhere, pulling back with his main army, and
really smart for Bunny to
retreat.
cloak. He cloaks the ghosts that are coming out of his barracks, so the Zealots can't snipe them.
That middle base shouldn't die as long as he repairs on time. Vikings, though, if they are targeted here and stop dying.
He killed a few observers. He needs to get rid of these Colossi. The Zealots are getting on top of the SCVs. That's the really big problem here.
He's going to get the PF.
He needs to kill all these Colossi if he's going to lose these Vikings, and he will. He still has that mining base on the right side, though.
Zest lost a lot.
Bunny still has an economy.
Zest lost all of his Colossi to kill that. He doesn't have a single one.
He has 6 Templar, 2 Archons, and not a lot else, honestly.
This could have been a good time for Bunny to attack if his units weren't so injured. And by the way, he's only down to 3 medivacs.
And Zest starts 2 Colossi. His army is very squishy. If Bunny can get just even a half-decent spread and a few EMPs.
Squishy?
Yeah, man.
You've been hanging out with Skylar's too much, man.
I'm just saying, if you don't have Zealots, Marauders are going to have a field day against Stalkers and Colossi.
Bunny, it looks like he might want to attack here, but there are Archons. He needs to be careful in terms of army supply. We're at 96 for Bunny and 83 for Zest, but somehow I feel like Zest's army looks much scarier.
Big storms on that mineral line of the upright base, taking out another big chunk of Bunny's economy. And even Bunny knows, yeah, you can try to build up a lot of supply even though you have mules instead of having workers. But at 138, he'd really like to have a few more SCVs. Takes another storm.
Is clumped up. He's going to get stormed.
This Terran army is so weak. Look how many of these units are like half health. It's, it's pretty bad. It's
weak is
shape.
a strong word, Nate. Zest is finally very far ahead on supply. Might go for the kill here. The nuke finally goes down, but I don't think Zest is going to walk into that one. He has an observer.
Yeah,
the Ghost is just going to die.
Snipes the Ghost. No nukes to fall today. Not yet. He takes out the center base, but more Zealot counterattacks going up back in Liquid Bunny's base during all this. Zest has approached max supply once again, and he's been continuing to crank up the Colossi. In about 30 or so seconds, he'll have 4 Colossi up against just 6 Vikings.
They're on strike. They're staying in the main. He's saving them. I think Zest's comfortable enough in the game right now to just use part of his army, keep some Templars behind, make sure.
Templar. The
keeps
mules.
his upgrades going.
Not the mules, Todd.
Not the mules. Not my babies. Level 3 shields about to complete. Zest is going to be 3-3-3 in terms of upgrades, so very good position for him to be in. I think he's going to keep on just sending units. Sending in units on the left-hand side. He's actually just regrouped right now. It's time for the F2 A move in the middle of the map. I think he might just have too much.
Yeah, Bunny had a really nice position early on in this game, I feel, but some of these trades, especially at the right side of the map, have been way too good for Zest. GG is called, and our KT Rolster Protoss player will take the first map of the day.
Some pretty cool play here out of Zest. Really making sure he never committed to a single bad fight, really. Bunny was really trying to force it out of him, but Zest, he stayed group with his main army. He made sure he always had Templars behind so that even if he was in trouble, he could just pull back and storm.
That was a surprisingly passive game, I would say, too.
Yeah.
We had Bunny open up with the Reaper expand into Mine Drop, but beyond that, he didn't even really use his Marines to get aggressive. I don't think there was a single Marine Marauder drop at all that entire game. I don't think he dropped once he had Stim.
Yeah, against somebody like Zest, who almost always opens Blink, and he's very good against drop defense. You know, getting some drops going, like just 1 or 2 medivacs, he's not that great, but the later drops, those are the ones that are really interesting. Actually, I think it was Cure in GSL against Zest that dropped into like Stalkers. He had like 5 or 6 medivacs, he saw there were Stalkers, he's just like, well, I'm just gonna boost and drop, and I don't care if you have Stalkers there, because I'm gonna drop my units and kill you Stalkers. And somehow it worked. If you have that much more army supply, there is always a way to use it, and that way is not to stay grouped with everything and try and attack into a Zest that's always prepared, always has his army in a good position ready to defend.
Yeah, Bunny's army control was okay in that right side fight. I think when he tried to make that really big attack, when he had Cloak done, he didn't have most of his forces. Because I was looking, he had him after he lost that whole army by the 4th base of Zest. He still had about 17 Marauders, I think. It was like 15 Marines. I'm like, if that army was with all of those Ghosts, I really believe that fight turns out completely differently, or at least he trades even enough to keep the game going on a bit longer. But we'll have to see if they can bring things back on this map merry-go-round, as we are loaded in and in the top left position. Currently up 1-0, coming from Korea, playing for KT Rolster. He is Zest. And of course, this is an elimination series. This man needs to win 2 maps in a row if he wants to keep his hopes alive. The Dane from Team Liquid, it is Bunny.
If Zest moves on here, he would have played against 3 Terrans in the group stage, and he would move on to face Yoda. Zest versus Terran All-Stars at the Intel Extreme Masters Toronto. I'm a little bit surprised that Terrans don't try to nuke more, you know, in shaky positions. Like, for example, Bunny in the last game, he had a nuke. Imagine if he had dropped above the cliff of that right-hand side base, and then nuked with the red dot barely outside of the vision, but in the radius to kill the probes at that base. Wouldn't he kill a lot of probes?
I mean, he had the observer on top of the whole army.
Did I just teach something insane to all Terrans out there?
No. I mean, every Terran player wants to try using nukes.
But they just nuke on top of the Nexus usually, and then you just see that red dot, you move out of the position. Whereas now there was no vision above that cliff. Could have just dropped a Ghost there, nuked outside the radius of the vision, you know, barely outside of the minerals, and then with the
I would say most Protoss reaction, though, no matter where you put the nuke, is they look for whatever base is most likely to have something there, and they just pull the probes away anyway. At least in my experience.
All right. I guess you must play with some pros.
I can't get them to keep all their probes there when I drop the nukes. Unfortunately, they don't wait for them. This map, I think, is pretty good for the same type of opening that Bunny went for in the last game. And he does have a Reaper on the way. But he's taking an SCV off gas, so it's more likely to be just a standard barracks follow-up.
Yeah, I was talking a little bit about merry-go-round earlier because Zest played it both against Teja and against Bolt. And against Bolt, he did a hidden Twilight into 4 gateway blink, but he didn't do an all-in. He did 3 bases, Colossus, and then it was Paul that took fight to him maybe a little bit too early. And then Zest just kept on trading units for Bioforces, kept most of his Colossus alive, and then eventually when he had enough, he kept on attacking and did enough damage to win the game. So I think we might see a similar style here out of him, and I really like that positioning on his pylons, by the way, always making the second one at the ramp, always going for his scouts. Definitely not quite Stardust-like, Stardust who hasn't been doing any scouting versus Terrence this day, who's been struggling in the matchup. Zest wants to know exactly what he's up against, and in this game, he was able to see a decent bit. He saw that there was a Reaper.
Yeah, and I think what he'd really like to know, of course, is that he did not get that extra gas. He's not going for a factory. It's going to be a very quick engineering bay with a second barracks. So we're likely to see that fast +1. I love the fast D-Bay builds, Todd.
Yeah.
Worst comes to worst, your opponent is a bit of a cheeser, and you need a missile turret against an Oracle, and you're totally fine.
The Twilight's going to go down in a corner of his base here for Zest, always making it very difficult for Terrence to possibly scout it, because now he's going to have a Stalker and a Mothership Core to deny entry to any kind of units that will go in there and try and get a scout. And if you scan, you're often going to miss that. So Zest really abusing the map overlay here. Oh, he's going to get the Reaper. Maybe.
Nope,
oh,
just
wow.
barely slips out. These Reapers are fast, man. Yeah. +1 attack is on the way. You said it, though. That Twilight Council. Is this a map where Zest commits heavily with his Blink Stalkers, or do he just make 6 or 7?
He makes a bunch. Occasionally, he's going to do an all-in. He's going to try to mix in an all-in. And since he's up 1-0, it's possible that he does. I guess we'll see with the amount of gateways that he gets. Usually, even if he gets 3 additional gateways, so goes up to 4 total, it doesn't even necessarily mean that he's going to commit. He's just making that, 1 gateway is 150 in the end. 150 minerals, it's not that much. So now it's going to be 2. Yeah, just 2. So I think he's going to be his usual third base into Colossus with lots of Blink Stalkers to defend against drops, defend against anything that's being thrown at him. And then he just attacks when he feels like it, and or when he thinks he has enough. And usually, as a Terran, you play right into his hand if you play too aggressive when you shouldn't be. And you lose a lot of units, because then he has enough to stabilize and to do his own attacks at some point. Whereas if you keep your units alive and finally hit at that moment, which I talked about a few times already during this tournament, when the Terran hits like 80, 90 supply and Protoss is only on 50, that's when you can do the damage.
So for any Protosses out there that might play on the ladder, you like builds like this on a map where it's usually difficult to get a third base in order to secure it more easily?
Yeah, it definitely helps. I mean, Zest makes it look very good. I've tried to use this, and believe me, it looked a lot less good already. So it's a difficult build to use, and I really feel like you need to understand every single moment of that build and the important key points to be able to use it well. And so far, I don't think too many people do, because I haven't seen anybody else other than Zest do it very well.
All right, understandable. Zest still didn't get a full scout of the main base of Bunny, so those Stalkers were kind of chilling in the main base for a little bit, waiting for the potential drop that never did come. But Bunny doesn't quite know what he's up against. I think if he gets a read on the Stalker count with this Marine that's moving towards his base, maybe he'll realize what's happening. There are quite a few Stalkers on the map, 8 now, and a Warp Prism follow-up. Yeah,
he does that sometimes to try and do some Zealot drops when the Terran moves out, and he's done very well with it in the past. One interesting thing to follow here for Zest is he going to go for Forges or not? Because when you go for this, usually you will go for double Forge at some point for some upgrades, but when he played against Bolt on this map, he didn't make any Forges. He just made Colossus, he just made Blink Stalkers, and then he held the initial attacks and then went for the counter attacks himself.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it before on this map from players like CJ Hero. While these Stalkers are being very, very adventurous here, picking off a few SCVs, but taking a little bit of real damage. Suddenly, Bunny is feeling a little bit shaky, starts up another bunker.
I mean, Zest makes it look so easy. Look at this, everything's planned out in advance. He's
and
harassing with the
transition
Stalkers,
into Colossi is super
dropping
smooth.
Zealots in the main at the same time, taking the third base, transitioning, he's doing everything at once.
And Marines are going to have to stim over here, but that, of course, hurts them. It actually picks up all of these Zealots and will be able to escape. On the right side, Marauder gets picked off by these Stalkers, and we know, it seems like one unit here or there, but this slowly builds up to a very nice advantage because now Zest can take his third base. And the reason why I asked you earlier is this is a map where normally Protosses can't just take a fast third against Terran.
Yes, definitely the opposite usually. But Zest here with this build, he's able to not only kill some workers, but also buy himself time, really put the Terran on the defensive. A lot more gateways are being made, still no fortress, so I think Zest might go for the similar style that he went for against Bolt. I really hope Bunny watched that VOD, because he definitely is going to help him if he knows exactly what's going on. Since he's moving out, I think he has a clear idea. By the way, Teja, when he won against Zest on that map, he did that very attack. He attacked on the third base, there wasn't enough yet for Zest. He did a lot of damage, and then from there he was able to win, because he had killed all of the important units, aka the Stalkers, the Sentries, and all that. So I think Bunny's looking maybe to do the same thing here. And this is one of the moments where he could do well, but also could lose a lot if he doesn't take a good fight.
There's a lot that can be done without the Colossus having any range. The Marauders are moving up front to soak up that splash damage from the Colossus. The Marines, though, are going away pretty damn fast. He hasn't managed to pick up any of those big expensive units. Medevac loads up with the Stalkers, shooting down. It actually is going to kill quite a few of these chasing units. The rally was pretty damn good from Bunny. Zest overstepping a little bit, trying to clean up these forces retreating.
Initially, it was going well for Zest, but I think he chased a little bit too far back. And by the way, beautiful pylons positioning for Zest. And on the map, he has an entire wall on the top right-hand side. He has so much vision against any kind of potential drops, even a probe up there, but all of those pylons really giving him so much vision at the top.
I do like to see this. There's a Viking also patrolling away for Bunny, trying to make sure that the Warp Prism doesn't find itself getting too much done here.
Finally, one forge going down, by the way, for this. I think he realized
so he
that
doesn't want to attack,
is
what you're saying.
Or he could, if he kills enough here. And Bunny is fighting without Vikings.
Yeah, these Marauders aren't really soaking up that Colossus fire, so all the Marines die pretty much instantly. He's even like picking up units, microing his Stalkers through the Warp Prism to dodge Marauder shots. You don't see that terribly often.
Yeah, he did very well with that, using the Warp Prism now even...
I think that might trigger him to push now.
Yeah, having traded like this, he could maybe attack and
do
even more damage.
4 Vikings. There's now going to be about 6 in the next couple seconds, but this is still a very scary force coming out of Zest. 3 Colossi.
Zest is on 8 gates. He has 3 Colossi. So I think he just gets like a lot of Stalkers from here, gets a few Zealots to tank, and actually he doesn't have a potential.
He has no gas on his third base. He just wants to crank out units, and Zest...
He didn't make that many workers, and I think he wants to try and deal this Colossus for anything that he can here. He might even go for the kill, as Bunny doesn't seem to have that much.
He might be able to get it. He's moving up that ramp. Bunny's going to need to pull all of his workers out to help hold this. Vikings even rallying into the Stalkers. There's just not a lot of anti-air for the Terran player. And the Colossi are all still standing strong. GG is called, and Zest will defeat Liquid Bunny.
He made that look so easy and simple. It's actually amazing. On a map where it's so difficult to take a third base, he has this very, very specific build that doesn't have too many counters, I guess, and that, I guess, also hasn't been figured out too much yet. Just gets the Blink Stalkers, the Colossus, rushes that third base and somehow manages to deal damage at the same time. It just looked so convincing against a Bunny who always was defending back at home. Never really did much in this game.
Yeah, this was, I'd say, feels like a bit of one of the more slow series that we've had as far as the action goes. The most players trying to fight out in the open with their main forces. Bunny put up a good fight in this tournament, a good run, but Zest just a little bit too crafty, I would say. His strategies seem to be able to deal with everything that his opponent could throw at him.
And Bunny's a beast against Protoss as well. Like, I'm really surprised that
the first game, I after the initial engagement where he picked off all the Colossi and the Templar, and we kind of saw him get ready to attack that fourth again, it looked like there was a chance he could actually be up 1-0 at the beginning.
Yeah. I don't know, like, a few mistakes here and there, that's all it takes. It's very Terran in this situation when you're up against Templars and Colossus. I would say probably one of the most unforgiving situations.
Yeah.
Just one wrong movement here.
One or two good storms.
Yeah, 1 or 2 good storms, and you're done.
Yeah. So congratulations to Zest, as he is going to move on to the quarterfinals now, I believe. And Bunny definitely put a good run up. I have to say, looking at some of the other matches, Todd, how you feeling about today's games?
I'm very excited for the PvP.
Oh, I would never have guessed.
I'm very excited about the PvP, but the ZVZ are obviously going to be cool too with Linok versus Violet, which is our next match. And of course, Flash versus MC, the rematch. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I think a lot of people can't wait to see that later today. But from now, that's going to be it for us. Let's hear some thoughts about that series.
Thank you very much, chaps. We have Zest with us. James, our translator, is back with us as well. Zest, congratulations on your win. He's busy looking at the crowd right now. Is he all right? Does he feel okay?
유주호 선수 일단 아까 방금 경기 승리하신 거 축하하고요. 예, 팬들도 많이 있고 이렇게. 네. 안 되는데 뭔가 불안해 보이는데 마음이. 기분 어떠세요?
일단 깔끔하게 2대0으로 이기긴 했는데 좀 경기 내적으로 그냥 경기력이 마음에 들지 않아서 좀 그게 좀 걱정이에요.
It was a clean 2-0 sweep, but I wasn't really satisfied with how I was playing.
Really?
So I'm a little bit struggling right now. So.
Okay, that's interesting. So a nice, easy 2-0 win, but still not satisfied. I like that. That's sounds like a champion to me. Zest, explain to us how different it is for you to come to the Intel Extreme Masters and play here rather than playing with KT Rolster back in the Pro League.
자, 이제 프로리그랑 이제 여기랑 대회 방식도 그렇고 여러 가지로 다른 점이 많은데 이제 IEM 토론토 이제 대회 방식이나 이런 거에 대해서 또 그리고 경기 분위기, 경기장 분위기 이런 거에서 어떻게 생각하세요?
방식이나 경기장 분위기 같은 거는 되게 마음에 드는데 이렇게 그냥 제 개인적으로는 시차 적응이 관건인 것 같아가지고 시차 적응만 잘 하면 대회 방식이나 이런 분위기는 정말 만족스럽기 때문에 잘 풀어나갈 수 있을 것 같아요.
In terms of format, the fans, the whole vibe of IEM Toronto versus Pro League is very different, obviously, but it's in the manageable level to play a game. I think the only thing that I need to focus on is to overcome the jet lag, the time difference, and if I do it right, I think it should feel exactly like home.
Okay, one quick question on the group that you had. 3 Terrans in that group, all very good Terrans. When you saw that, what were you thinking? Just it was a good thing for you, or was it a bad thing? Because we know that actually, statistically, it's your worst matchup, even though you've been playing some great games against Terrans recently.
아, 테란전이 승률이 별로 안 좋아요?
다른 전에 비해 안 좋은데
그럼 3테란을 만났을 때 기분이 어땠는지?
솔직히 그 다른 전에 비해 승률은 안 좋은데 지금 테란전이 자신감이 많이 올라왔다고 생각했는데 생각보다 이렇게 힘들게 올라가가지고 더 테란전을 더 연습 열심히 해서 보완해야 될 것 같아요.
부사기?
네?
부사기? So I know that my stats say that versus T is weak, but every time I play, I've always had the confidence, and obviously hailing all the way from Korea, I thought I would have my group easy peasy, but it didn't really exactly turn out the way I had expected, and yeah, I don't know. I really can't comment further on that.
One last question: are you the favorite left in this tournament right now? Is it yours to take?
자, 이제 주성우 선수가 생각하시기에는 내가 우승 후보다, 강력한 후보다, 3테란 조를 뚫고 올라왔으니
당연히 우승하려고 와서 충분히 우승할 수 있을 것 같고 저희 같은 팀원인 영호도 2위로 진출했기 때문에 만나면 결승에서 만나는 대진이더라고요. 그래서 대진 운도 잘 타가지고 서로 결승에서 볼 수 있을 것 같아요.
Of course, I came to IEM to become a champion, and in the qualifiers, it was with Flash. I came on top of Flash, and the way how the brackets are set up is that I think Flash would come up from the other field, and I would probably meet him in the finals. So
okay. Bold predictions from the KT boys. Yeah.
Enough said.
KT boys very confident here, both Flash and Zest still in the tournament. And Zest has moved through to the quarterfinals. Congratulations once more to Zest. We'll be back very shortly with more StarCraft 2 action and no more people running in front of cameras, hopefully.